Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles,
Hello.
and it looks like Hollywood is headed for a Great Depression. A lot of people are depressed in Hollywood right now. The production levels are the worst they've been in decades. Golly gee willikers.
I know,
Um,
right?
if only someone said, hey, you're headed for an iceberg.
I
If
know. You need to
only
turn, pivot, pivot.
pivot. Yeah. So there's a big bust after the streaming boom. And of course, we have the double strikes and we have a lot of box office flops. For every Minecraft, we've got like 20 other movies that don't do very well. And a lot of TV shows not getting picked up now. Some of these projects are being canceled. The studios are just kind of freaking out about money and they're
Plus,
outsourcing.
there's a big division, which we're going to talk about later. A big division in Hollywood
Right.
too, based on the tariff situation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because there are some people that are like, hey, yeah, we got to do what we got to do to get working again. And there is, and we've said this pretty much since, we started talking about the Hollywood stuff, that there are kind of salt of the earth people that are working on most of these productions. These are, basically blue collar workers doing what they got to do, whether it's, like production design or sets or lights or, whatever it is. And these people are out of work too, because the studios aren't producing movies and TV shows. Now they're kind of afraid to because of the Trump tariffs. They're like, well, yeah, all of our stuff's overseas. We're sending it all to London, and now we're talking we might tariff the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already word that some movies and shows are being pushed back a year or more to kind of wait and see what's going to happen with this. We've got Disney bending the knee to Trump already, the CFO being like, hey, yeah, we'll work with you, whatever it takes.
No, I'll work with them as long as they get to help design.
As long as they get to help design.
Meaning we'll work with you, but then we get to make sure that we help ourselves.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. This is a very complicated situation. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
For more news, go out to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com. So yeah, we'll get out to the Great Depression stuff here in a minute. That's actually coming from the Wrap. They said that the insiders said that the levels of production are Depression era. That's pretty bad. But the bigger issue is that there is a class war in Hollywood now. The industry isn't taking, this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, the industry isn't taking that first 100% tariff posed at face value. And yet one IATSE member says a few years ago, a proposal like this would have been 70% opposed by the rank and file. Now it's split down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently there's some division in the union.
It sounds like, well, there's that, but they also said there's like the studio people are all for, no tariff because they want to make sure that they get to go get the best deal they can. They said that they've had a history of, doing underhanded things and screwing people over. And now that all the stuff's being, sent overseas, a lot of the people in the unions, including the unions, are kind of like down for it, the tariff, because they're like, at least then the jobs will come back.
Yeah, but will they come back in California? Will they come back under, union?
Well, they would come back into the U.S. and probably be under union, but it doesn't mean they'll be in California. But that doesn't mean that also, it's a lot easier to get someplace else in the United States if you're here than it is to go to like, London and stuff. And
Nevada,
stuff.
Vegas is not far from LA. I mean, you can take I think it's like 45 minutes or an hour, the flight, so that's not that big of a deal. I think what they're starting to realize, and I think maybe after the last round of strikes, is that a bird in the hand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like they were all like, oh, we're going to get we're going to push and get better deals and better this and better that. And then it turned out that, the studios just turned the money off completely then. On some projects.
They were like sending a lot of stuff overseas. They were doing it for years, but I think, what they were doing over here got shut down.
Yeah. So, again, this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. They said there's a befuddlement. It's turned into murmurs of approval for Trump, at least in certain corners of the industry. This is the first time I've ever seen this kind of divide, says Diego Marisol, is that what it says? An IATSE member who runs Cruise Stories, popular online forum for below-the-line workers. People I'm talking with are saying at least Trump's doing something. When's the last time a president even tried? He's creating a conversation. So this is interesting because we're not seeing, like, look, there are people that are just like, what the hell, Trump, 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 everything he does is bad. PBS and NPR are freaking out, obviously, because they're losing their funding. But even Disney now is like, yes, sir. What can we do to help?
Well, they tried going against, and then they realized that, hey, if we work together, it works out better.
Yeah.
At least then we get a say. If we look like if we at least try to be civil, at least try to come to the table, then we get to help design the solution, meaning whatever's best for them.
Whatever's best for Disney.
Not below the line workers, but whatever's best for corporate Disney. Yes.
And that's what we tried to tell people. Like, people kept saying we're anti-union. What we're trying to tell people is they're turning the money off, and you're making yourself very disposable by asking for the moon.
Mhm.
Right. And that's exactly what happened. And we're still, like, animation's still not picking up the way that it was. And I'm sorry, it is what it is.
We're not saying it's right. We're just saying
I didn't say it was right. I never said I agreed. I just said that what's going to happen based on my own experience in other companies. And I'm sorry, at the end of the day, the entertainment industry is still an industry. It's still business. It still has to make money. If you're asking for way more money than they have to give you, they will just cut back.
Well, they have it, but they're keeping it. They're going over to other countries to go employ those people because they get all kinds of money. And they basically said on one article we're looking at in a minute that London's more Hollywood than Hollywood now.
Yeah, and before that it was New Zealand and Australia, and it's whoever's given the tax breaks, right? So, I mean, look, you can't, if you're Bob Iger, you can't go to your shareholders and be like, you know what, guys, this quarter we would have turned a huge profit, but I felt really generous, and I decided to give all of our employees like big ass bonuses. I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
That is not the reality of the situation. If you're a privately owned company, yeah, you can do that sort of thing, but that's not the reality of it for a corporation. But yeah, the executives were like, the tariffs are impractical. They're bad for business. They're unserious. But the crews said at the very least, they're intrigued by it. Some are outright cheering. That's really interesting, because I thought that, Trump was anti-union. I thought he was, these gigantic corporations line their pockets by recklessly cutting corners, abandoning American crews, and exploiting tax loopholes abroad. This is Sean O'Brien and Hollywood Teamsters leader Lindsay Doherty. While these companies get rich fleeing to other countries and gaming the system, our members have gotten screwed over. We thank Trump for boldly supporting good union jobs when others have turned their heads. Oh my God. Oh my God.
To me, that's what the story is here. I mean, we already knew that all this stuff was going on, but the fact that, the rank and file are turning, and they're kind of like, hey, at least somebody's trying to help us. That's interesting to me, because Hollywood, we all know Hollywood is, what you heard the most about were the people that were very far left. Now, we've said repeatedly that there were a lot of people that were conservative. They just were afraid to speak out.
Yeah. But it's not even this is the thing. It's not even about being
it's
conservative.
About jobs.
Yeah, it's about jobs. And historically, the blue collar was Democrat, right? And then I don't know exactly when this happened. I'm guessing like late 90s, early 2000s, Democrats sort of became more Ivy League elite, and they started looking down their noses at the working class. It was very weird. It was a very weird thing to see. And now the Republicans are like, we need to be about bringing jobs to the U.S. It's like, wait, what the hell happened here? How did this happen? What happened? Yeah, they said it hasn't. They said that the resentment towards studio brass, the people who decide where and when the movie shoots, hasn't been this raw since the strikes last year. Even just a few years ago, a proposal like this would have been 70% opposed by the rank and file, now it's split down the middle. Yeah,
I would have said even more than 70%. I think there's probably
higher
in Hollywood.
They're not going to verbalize, like, people aren't going to verbalize it. But yeah, Hollywood, they would have been like, no, we're not going to, whatever. But, Trump, we don't want Trump, anything, whatever he comes up with is bad. But I think they look at this like, God, we don't have another choice. We don't have a choice. No. Because all the jobs, they're all getting outsourced.
And no one's helping us. Newsom's has been trying. It wasn't because of Trump. He was trying before. We talked about it before. To get, some kind of tax incentives boosted for California to keep the jobs there. So he was trying to do it. So they actually are on the same side in this case, which you never would have saw coming. But it's funny to me because people are like, oh, he's trying to help. It's like, no, actually Newsom was doing this before Trump suggested the tariffs. But
Yeah,
if
Newsom.
you actually
Well,
pay attention and follow this shit, not just try to make up stuff for clicks, you'd know.
yeah, Newsom's been trying because, again, you've got people like Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey telling everybody to go to Texas, and a big reason why I think he's trying to pull it out of a tailspin is a lot of productions and a lot of businesses left California because of his draconian rules during the shutdown.
Now, according to another article, the draconian one is Trump, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but not just that. It's like, yeah, he had the ridiculous rules and it halted productions. And he's worried prior to the whole thing with the tariff thing. He was worried that other states were trying to take his biscuit. And then we
Yeah.
have talked about the stories where, like, of the so many filed, 50 some filed projects, upcoming projects, like 46 of them that were filed in LA that were all indie and under like a few $1 million projects, because the
Yeah.
big ones are all overseas. So this has been an ongoing thing. If you've been following along and you're listening, this is not new. Now Trump's stepping in trying to do something too.
Well, this recaps it very nicely. It said it's not like domestic production is dying a very fast death, as Trump claimed on Truth Social, but it's not thriving either. On location shooting in LA fell 22% in the first
Yeah.
quarter of 2025 compared to last year, which was down, right?
Mhm.
Film and TV employment statewide has dropped by roughly 20% since 2022. They said, meanwhile, business is booming in places like London, where Marvel,
Yes.
DC, Mission Impossible, and Star Wars now routinely set camp. To be fair, Star Wars always has.
Yes. Yes.
Pinewood Studios.
It's like
been,
tradition at this point. They keep going there because it's the traditional one place they went.
So while executives are scrambling to assess how much of their upcoming slates might be affected, many of the below the line unions were cautiously optimistic, or like the Teamsters, outright enthusiastic. Oh boy, SAG-AFTRA, for instance, issued a warm statement. We're open to the idea and look forward to advancing dialogue to achieve our common goal, says Duncan Crabtree, Ireland. A surprising level of diplomatic openness for a guild that also represents household names like George Clooney and America is it Ferrera? I always want to call her America Ferrari, but I guess that's a Corvette. I don't know. But like, yeah, they would have been just a couple of years ago if Trump said something like this. They would have been like, "Let's come from Trump." No. Now they're like, oh, "God, help us, Trump." You're our only hope.
Yeah, I
Like,
know, right? But
like,
it is like they're not joking. Like they're saying literally, like London is the new Hollywood, because there's a whole story. You can pull that one up real quick. We don't have to read too much about it, but there's a whole story that they had about London became the new Hollywood because all the stuff's going over there. Like
yeah,
all the filmings over there. They said that the one hotel was about how they started off about a fire situation at a hotel and all the celebrities there, but they basically said that it's a better environment for Hollywood types because over here with Trump and his draconian rule that they're over there where you apparently if you say the wrong thing you could get arrested if you say it on social media.
I know,
That's
right?
great, guys. Hollywood loves that. They're over there because they're giving them money. That's the
Yes.
only reason they're filming in London is because London is giving them a shit ton of rebates. That's why. Let's make no
Wow.
mistake. It's not because they like it better. It's because they're giving them out money like candy.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I said President Trump's draconian policy decrees, not to mention the chaos unleashed on travel. London is, as one insider puts it, more Hollywood than Hollywood now. God.
There is no chaos on travel. If you're coming here to visit, you're fine. It's if you're just parking it here illegally that you got a problem.
5 days, yes. 5 years, no.
They don't care if you're coming to visit. It's if you're parking it here and you're coming in without the proper paperwork that they have an issue with. It's not really that complicated.
So Film London estimates that $12.7 billion is set to be invested in the city for production during the next 5 years. The global hubs of Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, and Disney continue to expand their UK offices at studios like Pinewood. Again, nothing new. George Lucas was using Pinewood back in the
and
80s.
They've been doing this for years now. It's just that now it's coming to a head after the pandemic and after the strikes. Just more stuff's being shipped over.
It's not just cost savings and the Trump effect. Tinseltown has lost much of its luster. So this is very much a tale of two economic class classes
Basically,
here.
the higher
The
ups and the
rich,
celebrities
yeah,
are chasing the free wagon train, the gravy train, I guess, of money in London, while the rest, everybody else gets left behind in Hollywood in the dust because they don't need you now because they got the new shiny places giving them what they want. Like they're going there because they're giving them shit.
yeah, and
They
they
can't
can
freeload
live high.
Hollywood anymore.
They can pretend it's still the way that it was. They can still get their, these are A-listers, so they're probably getting, 10-20 million dollars a picture or whatever, and they can pretend like that's the way things still are. But then back home, it's like grapes of wrath.
Well, that's it. And they'll sit there in London and bemoan America and talk shit about
Yeah, yeah,
America and everything else, and then want their award ceremony and everything else, and want Americans to go see their movie. And Americans are like, "Fuck you." They've
yeah.
been
No,
because your
yeah.
stuff's been shit for a while.
Well, I think that mindset is part of what tanked Captain America 4. And you've got Anthony Mackie, whether it was intentional or a slip or he just misspoke. The narrative was he was like, yeah, Captain America doesn't think much of America.
Yeah,
He's not
basically.
America is not really worth hoisting up on the shoulders of the world anymore. It's
I don't think that's the main reason it failed, but I don't think it
no.
helped.
It did not help. Anytime they go over there and act like elitist snots, basically anytime anybody in Hollywood acts like an elitist snot,
So
it
like every second of the day.
pretty much. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why people are looking at like Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, because they just seem like down to earth guys that are just like blue collar guys that make movies, right? And they're relatable. And you look at Chris Pratt. I mean, the guy's like living on a farm. And he seems like he's pretty relatable. People are over the elitist celebrity attitude.
Yeah, but they're going to London and they're just setting up camp there and getting their asses kissed.
Right. And this is what we talk about because people talk about the Hollywood elite. When you talk about the Hollywood elite, we're not talking about the gaffer, right? We're not talking about the grunt workers, the below the line guys. We're not talking about them. We're talking about these people that are getting paid a hell of a lot of money to play Let's Pretend.
Yeah, basically.
And and then and it shows like how completely out of touch they are with not just the country, their audience, but also how out of touch they are with the majority of the people that actually do the work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
That's why it's
what's
split
so
down the
weird
middle
about
here.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're trying to bring things back. I nobody seems to know what's going on with the tariffs. It's just like it's just an idea they kind of threw out there, but it is very, very interesting that the unions even are like, yeah, you know what, whatever it takes to keep jobs here. So this we'll wrap up with this. This was a video of the Wrap. We'll wrap up with the Wrap. The Wrap put out. Not going to play the video, obviously, but they said that yeah, things are bad. It's Depression era levels of production.
And
they're trying
not producing anything. They're just not producing it here. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, they said,
Okay.
yeah, they said basically they're trying to get everything to stay in LA, but I'm like, it's so cost prohibitive, right? So there's got to be a give and take here. It's like if you want the jobs to stay in America or in California in particular, you're gonna have to basically compete toe to toe with what these other countries are offering. And if you can't do that, then they're going to go where it's more advantageous, because again, Bob Iger's job when he stands before the shareholders every quarter and spins them a line of bullshit is to tell them that the studio made money.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. At the end of the day,
And
we
it's
made
not
money.
half the time, which is part of the problem. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, they said that businesses are leaving the state and country in search of the cheapest option.
Ironically, though, the Marvels was filmed in the UK and it still lost them like $200 some million.
Well, there's no saving.
That's with the credit.
God, they just said it's tragic. Yeah, they said things are bad. So I think I don't know. It's gonna be a really interesting situation. I do not believe that entertainment is going to look anything like we've historically seen in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's already disrupted because of the pandemic and because of streaming.
Well, you have to remember too, like YouTube and places like that, people rather watch that than watch these shows. And people are just making, like, we're making videos from like 2 little rooms in a building. And it costs way less than what they're doing for shows and stuff. And podcasts are on the upswing and everything. People rather have reality and realness from people they trust or they like than they will to watch this fake shit that's usually subpar from Hollywood. And then while they sit and circle jerk each other about how great they are.
Pretty much, pretty much. So there we go. We're gonna wrap this up.
Yep.
Let's wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.